Eti for a panet of my yet now any day enkas ordinary pani bia ni dey atofom no yate ehho nsensem ne akofa ehho nsensem so ere ba besom no boboano ama boboano no ayede eyede nso amamu ni se mani so be dey ebeje na mani jinso na tse Ghana man ya bo ma Ghana man enso ere etimi ayere akoso eye insem atsetifo ekoso man Ghana man akoboano atsetifo edi ba besom boboano mesel say any na holding TV me subscribe to ordinary TV like na be shame the way na any news die ever politics mu die eye ordinary TV number 1 enko be bia bi so politics kwa dia bra eye ordinary TV eye every alleged news die etifo waso ere ebeti bi etifo eye insema beto na so na say ibe bobom na na wati insim na si intenjebre 1979 emresisia
instruction which are under the direct mandate of IOCO. In May 2024, IOCO returned the entire docket back to the OSP on the back of their reasoning that since money laundering is not a substantive offense, but a collateral offense which must be founded on a predicate offense, IOCO did not have a mandate to commence investigations into the matter since it could not premise its investigation on any predicate offense. By a letter dated 14 May 2025, the new leadership of IOCO requested the OSP to forward the docket back to IOCO for a review and commencement of investigation. Under the cover of communication dated 29 May 2025, the OSP forwarded the duplicate docket of the case back to IOCO. It is our considered opinion that the docket serves as a valuable background resource for IOCO to commence its own investigation in respect of aspects of the case the OSP does not have a direct mandate. The OSP will lend its full collaborative support to IOCO in its review and investigation and probable further action. Number 2, Republic against Charles Bissiou and another. On 28 April 2025, the OSP filed criminal charges against Charles Bissiou, the secretary of the disbanded Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, and Andy Thomas Owusu, in respect of 15 counts of corruption and corruption-related offenses. Subsequently, Andy Thomas Owusu, the second accused, has since negotiated a plea bargain with the OSP, which has been filed in court. The processes in respect of the plea bargain, which are restitutive and reparative in nature, would be concluded in court in the coming days. The special prosecutor accepted Andy Thomas Owusu's offer of restitution and reparation to the Republic on the following considerations in accordance with Section 71(4) of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959. The history of Mr. Owusu with respect to criminal activity. The level of cooperation Mr. Owusu exhibited during the investigation. The likelihood of obtaining a conviction if the case proceeds to trial. The probable effect on witnesses of a trial, and the need to avoid delay in the disposition of other pending cases. 3. National Petroleum Authority. In November 2024, the OSP commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of the operations of National Petroleum Authority, NPA, and the activities of some of its officials. The OSP investigation has revealed that between 2022 and 2024, some high-ranking and other officials of NPA devised and implemented a corrupt scheme of using public office for profit through threats, intimidation, coercion, suggestions, bribery, and inordinate regulatory duress to obtain for their personal benefit large sums of money from oil marketing companies and other entities under their statutory regulatory, licensing, oversight, and monitoring mandates in the petroleum downstream industry. As at the close of business on 30 May 2025, the OSP had uncovered, through tracing and trailing, an amount of 280,516,127 cedis and 19 pesos, being proceeds of the corrupt scheme, some of which has been used by the perpetrators to acquire identified and traced apartments, suites, houses in country and abroad, 22 fuel haulage trucks, and the incorporation, acquisition, and operation of oil marketing companies to compete with the oil marketing companies they were regulating. The OSP, before the end of June, would file criminal charges against the first batch of the perpetrators and complicit oil marketing companies and their officials. Upon filing, we will brief you in detail in respect of who did what, who acquired what, and what has been recovered. Kenneth Ofori Attah. We recall that by a letter dated 24 June 2025, Kenneth Ofori Attah, a former Minister of Finance, was informed that the OSP had commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses regarding cases in respect of which the OSP considered him a suspect. Further, he was directed to attend in person the OSP on 10 February 2025 for interviewing. Mr. Ofori Attah was out of the jurisdiction at the time. By a letter dated 31 January 2025, Mr. Ofori Attah informed the OSP, through his lawyers, that he was out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds, and that the firm will notify the office of his arrival in the country in aid of rescheduling his personal attendance at the OSP. Further, the lawyers offered its willingness to provide the OSP with any information we may require to aid in the investigation until his arrival in the country. Upon receipt of these representations from his lawyers, the OSP, by a letter dated 5 February 2025, informed Mr. Ofori Attah that the OSP did not need or required notification from his lawyers of his future arrival in the jurisdiction. The OSP acknowledged his lawyers' offer to provide us with information in aid of the investigation. However, the OSP insisted that his personal attendance at the OSP was required. The OSP directed Mr. Ofori Attah to indicate by close of business on 10 February 2025 a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. The OSP warned him that if he failed to do so, the OSP would take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at our own choosing. Mr. Ofori Attah failed to indicate a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction upon the expiry of the 10 February 2025 deadline, except to still persist in his expressed intent of remaining indefinitely outside the jurisdiction by the transmission of his lawyers of a purported and brusque medical letter on 10 February 2025, which only sought, in effect, to state that he may undergo a possible surgical intervention in March 2025. In the considered opinion of the OSP, that medical letter could not be held to be a disclosure of a reasonable date of Mr. Ofori Attah's return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP, since it merely indicated that there may be a possible surgical intervention that may or may not occur in March. The letter, which was in no way a medical report, neither stated nor demonstrated that Mr. Ofori Attah was a travel risk or that he was an invalid who needed around-the-clock intense medical attention to the point that traveling to the jurisdiction would endanger his life. Upon the expiry of the 10 February 2025 deadline, the special prosecutor publicly declared Mr. Ofori Attah a wanted person and a fugitive from justice on 12 February 2025, on the ground that his avowed posture of remaining indefinitely outside the jurisdiction, without indicating a reasonable time of his return to the jurisdiction, showed clearly that he had no intention of voluntarily returning to the jurisdiction. By a letter dated 17 February 2025, Mr. Ofori Attah's lawyers transmitted to the special prosecutor a communication laced with vituperation and designed variously as a denigration of the OSP, a lecture on their suppositions as to the mandate of the OSP,